has been fixed, it looks like. So we've seen a huge increase in the use of the computers and just the Wi-Fi outside as well. So it's great to see that the maintenance done on that has had an impact on how people can access our services. So that was great to see that in the month of June. Our craft programs and kids programs are always well attended. Our summer reading program has kicked off. If you're interested, there are family and individual options, and there's prizes at the end, always fun. We've also now partnered with Healthy Families. So the space in the rec center is limited. So summer camp is using the gym. So Healthy Families that used to come there on Wednesdays will now be going to the library. And then we also have ARI coming in for the Aurora Research Institute. They're coming in for Fridays, where they'll do STEM related activities at the library. And we're working on programming to reach more adults and teens. That's it for the library. Thanks.
SAO?
Just a couple of things. I did want to note that when the directors talked about a closure of the rec center, the community and recreation center for that week, that won't include the childcare, because by that point they'll have their own entrance. And we're working on a way of ensuring the pool can stay open as well, because we are able to access the pool through one of the side doors, which is what we're currently doing for pool access. So just FYI, we're going to try and keep as much facilities open as we can during that closure, but the flooring will be the factor, right? We've got to get the flooring in and put the front desk in. I did want to say goodbye to Mr. Schwarzenberger, who's been with us for a number of years as our first as our aquatic lead, and then as our community coordinator for recreation and special events. He's chosen to go back to teaching. Sorry, I felt like this job was safer, but he's gone back to teaching in the fall, so we'll miss him. And if you don't mind, I'll take the opportunity to introduce our new administrative or executive assistant. This is Mike Herring. He is just started with us on Monday. He comes to us with a excellent background in as a paralegal, which so part of his role is bylaw and policy development, and with a lot of experience around managing social media accounts. So he'll be doing a lot of communications for us as well. Felt like there was a last thing, but it's gone from my head.
Thank you. Any questions, discussion on the director's reports? Councillor Campbell?
Was the swimming pool closed today? What was the reason for that?
SAO?
Yeah, pool chemistry became an issue. The chlorine spiked up to 4. It's supposed to be around 1.2 to 1.4, and it spiked up to 4 today for some reason. So by the time we were able to start treating it, it takes about 8 hours to get it treated to make it safe for occupants again.
Thank you. Any other discussion or questions on the director's reports? Oh, SAO?
Sorry, I remembered what the last thing is. I wanted to invite council, if there's a time you'd like to go do a walkthrough of the rec center tomorrow, the community recreation center tomorrow. I'm available to go do that, and Mr. Brown is available as well to attend with us. So let me know. I can organize that. So if you want to talk about that after council tonight.
Okay. Any other discussion on director's reports? All right. Seeing none, we're going to move on to economic development report. Although I don't, SAO?
Thank you. I will actually just pass that off to Mrs. Clucci and just pick up the things that she doesn't brag about.
Yeah, so we've kicked off the season now at the visitor center, and we're getting lots of visitation over there and running a fair amount of programs as well. So it's really nice to see that we're getting tourism again and some visitors and getting people out, doing the town tours, doing the rapids tours. So that's part of what our staff is doing over there. Our climate change champion has been working on applying for funding to help with home energy efficiency winterizations. So that's another big one that we're hoping that we're successful on getting funding through that. The housing plan has come through, and we're trying to hire currently for a community coordinator to work through housing assessment and housing strategy. This one is funded, and it is still open for applications. We're also looking at a labor market strategy. So it's partially funded through ECE, and we're looking for options on how we can investigate that one as well. So we're in the early stages, kind of looking at what something like that would cost. But we can secure about $25,000 in funding from ECE for that. So that's a big help. We're still waiting on some of our design standards back for the Conover Park project. So as soon as we see the landscape amenities and our signage and things like that, we'll be able to share those. And we also were featured in Up Here magazine this month. So they did a story about the beaches in the NWT, and they featured Pine Lake and Fort Smith. So that was really great to get some press and hopefully bring some tourists down. There was a little bit of questionable information in it, though, where they said Pine Lake was fed by the adjacent rivers. So they may not have had their info quite right, but we have rivers, we have Pine Lake. They don't necessarily go together, but still great PR to get some folks introduced to the beautiful area that we have around here. And then some of the other points around our entrepreneur program is still, we're waiting kind of to the fall because we're trying to tie that into PWK. Our town tour app is, we're in the testing phase now, so hopefully that'll be out and people will access that soon. So it's been busy for sure. And that's it.
Thank you. SAO?
Sorry, and I just wanted to let you know that we met with CanNor, which is one of the federal funding agencies. They don't have a whole ton of money, but we did talk about additional funding for our labor market, and as well as looking at doing a bit of research studying on who business-wise, industry-wise, who we might also be marketing to based on what we have in the community. We also have the economic development officer has prepared and is about to submit another funding application to them for what's called the Community Revitalization Fund to try and get some additional funds for the work on Conover Park. So we're just working on that through CanNor, hoping we'll get at least some funding to support those projects.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one question around, it's good to hear that our visitor numbers are up, and we're getting more people into our facilities. Is that something you guys are tracking? The visitors to the community and that?
Sorry, SAO? Director? Kaluti?
Yeah, so they track all the stats at the Visitor Information Center. So that's typically the best place to catch people from out of the community, because that's usually where they'll make their stop before they come to some of our other facilities. So we do track all of that information as well. So we tried to outline some of it in the economic development report, but if there's other statistics that you're looking for, I can see if we can get those as well.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the economic development report? No? Okay. I just have a suggestion if I could. For your app, you should make us video us training us how to use your app and make a silly video, because that would go viral, especially getting the mayor to follow your app and use it. And we'd have so much take up. Okay, so moving on the agenda for now, I see advisory boards. SAO?
I believe Councillor Carroll is the council member for why do I not have it right? Is the council member for community services, but I don't know that they had a. Oh, you did have quorum last time. Okay, everybody else didn't have quorum. So I don't know if Councillor Crowell was able to attend. I think she was traveling. So maybe the director can give a quick summary or open to questions based on the minutes that are in your package.
Is there any questions about the minutes that are in our package for the Community Services Advisory Board? Okay, so seeing none, I'll move on the Economic Development Advisory Board. I do sit on that, and we haven't had quorum since April, and we haven't met since then. So there's not really an update other than what's in the what date was that? April 21st minutes. So if there's any questions about the Economic Development Advisory Board. Councillor McDonald?
Is there like a ongoing issue why you're not getting quorum, or is it just circumstance, I guess is?
I know for this, this was just in April, our meeting, and then I think as the summer goes on, we don't have meetings, so perhaps it was just June that we couldn't find that quorum, and now we're not going to meet again until September. SAO?
Each of the advisory boards is short members, so we'll, before the end of summer, we'll put out a PSA asking for people to submit expressions of interest, and then council will have to go through those, perhaps appoint a committee to identify potential new members. But I think each of the boards has at least 2 spots available, so some people moved.
Councillor Campbell?
Can we put that request out ASAP so people have time to think about it and get it going before the end of the summer? Thanks.
Right, thank you. Any other questions on the advisory boards? All right, moving on. I don't see any new bylaw or policy review. So administration, SAO. And we've got nothing. So excusing of counselors for Councillor Deputy Mayor Herron. I need a mover.
Sorry, Madam Chair, we did not receive any information from Deputy Mayor Herron about his absence.
No, he did text me.
All right, so then I can have someone move to.
I move that Deputy Mayor and be excused from tonight's meeting.
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion and vote? All right.
Yes.
Okay, and then the date of the next meeting for the Community Service Standing Committee is on August 9th at 7 p.m. I need a recommendation for adjournment.
I move that we adjourn at 7:23.
I'll second.
All right, discussion. All in favor? Meeting adjourned.
Yes.
Oh, can we have a 5-minute? Okay, we're just gonna have a 5-minute break for the director to arrive, and so we'll just hold tight. Have a coffee.
Good job, Dana.
Thank you, Diane.
I can't hear you, but that was a cute dance, Anne.
I'm just speaking that I think they should make a video of us regarding that launch of the app. I think it would be a great silly because silly sells and
Sean and Luke, I feel like Sean and Luke would be right into that. Alex would be into that.
Yeah.
Diane.
I think that would be great. I don't know if
I think the students would have fun doing that, and it would be great, and you would get a lot of hits on that.
oh yeah, for sure.
You're doing really good until you mention the word run. Like, I've never ran in 20 years.
We're not running. It's a self-guided tour. Oh, I should.
Maybe
call
we could fundraise
Donnie
with
was
you
calling
running,
me at the
Freddie.
restaurant. I'm sure. Uh-oh.
This is what I'm watching, you guys.
Okay, just so you know, you're still on YouTube, but holy, you suck.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Are we ready? Okay, we'll call the meeting to order here at 7:35. And we'll go through the agenda. Oh, just a sec, I want to send my condolences to the Jewell family for the passing of Clayton. Okay, now we'll go to review the agenda. Any changes or
I'll
any?
motion that we accept the agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
Seconder, any discussion? Oh, one, just administration?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to add 2 briefing notes if that is okay with council. To make these this 9C would be the new storage buildings briefing note that you received by email today and should have on your desk, as well as the downtown sidewalks briefing note would be 9D. You received that by email today and it should be on your desks as well. These are just tenders that closed yesterday and we wanted to get them to you as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you. Any other, Mayor Daniels?
Yeah, I'd like to put on 2 things. One is the water delivery out of town. I'd like some discussion that perhaps we could do that in camera along with the other one. The other one would be the canal. I just want to do an update. Where are we on that? And I'd like that for the time being to be in camera.
Both of
Until we
them?
did- Yeah,
Today?
yeah.
Okay, so we'll have to go
Yeah,
camera out.
it'll be pretty well brief, so,
Okay,
okay, thanks.
thank you. Councillor Ferguson, sorry.
Thanks. Also, we were talking at the corporate services meeting about a briefing note for this meeting regarding water meters. And so I'm just wondering if we'll just, get.
If it so pleases council, I can just give you a brief update. I think it's updated in the second set of documents today that you received, which was the capital plan update for July 2022, but I can give you a quick verbal update on that as well, perhaps as I go through the capital plan update.
Okay. Councillor McDonald, who moved it?
I moved it.
Okay, Councillor Ferguson, are you in favor of the amendments?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Thank you, Bissinger. All in favor? Okay, then we'll.
Yes.
Voice. Okay, the minutes of the municipal services standing minutes of June 14th, 2020. And they were adopted at the regular meeting council June 22nd. Our vision and values, 2021 capital plan. The capital plan was reviewed. Administration,
Sorry, and that should say 2022 capital plan. This afternoon you were emailed and then on your desk is an update of capital projects that are ongoing in the community and updates about status of those. I think there are 32 projects on this list. So we've been working hard to keep the local contractors busy. If there's anything specific, a topic on this list you're specifically interested in, I do want to let you know that our engineer who is working on the slope study and monitoring project was here at the end of June and did a visual inspection of the slope. One of our employees, AJ, who's our energy and climate change champion, was his second on that project. So they got to enjoy 20 kilometers of walking over 3 days. They also were able to do a visual inspection of Kaiser's Canal to give us a sense of what either what they think might need to be adjusted to the canal, or if this would be a project that required another scope of work and additional projects. So we should get a report from them shortly. You can see there are various pieces of equipment that are coming in. significant amounts of infrastructure work that's being done, projects that are related to studies, including the climate change adaptation plan, which the RFP just went out. The housing study, the director of community services mentioned that we are currently looking for our local coordinator for the project. That is funded through Housing NWT. We're working with some local contractors to prep for other projects and get quotes for other projects, something like the skate park, for instance. That won't be replaced this year, but we are waiting a quote from a local contractor to give us a sense of the scope of work for that. So if there's any of these topics that you would like more information on, I think one of them was the water meter project. At this point, the project is going slower than we'd like. We will probably be speaking to the contractor in the very near future to talk about how we can move that along faster and whether or not we need to add some of our own own forces to doing some of the easier, the ones we identify as being easier fixes in order to get that through, because it is impacting the overall revenues of the town. Same can be said for the water truck fill station. We don't have an appropriate way to monitor the amount of water that's coming out of the fill station. So that project will be starting on Tuesday next week to install the new fill station to make it safer. And then directly after that, we'll be looking at purchasing a new gas boy style piece of equipment, which will use some sort of card or token system with a code to monitor who's using the fill station, and then it'll go right directly to accounts receivable for invoicing based on the quantity of water that's used from that station. So we're just finishing up doing some research on that so that we can pin down how much water we are creating, how much water is going out in the system, whether or not we're losing water anywhere in the system, because until we know how much we make and how much goes out and how much we're collecting for using the meters in the fill station, we can't determine if we have water loss in the system. So we can't accurately identify if we're charging the correct amount for water in order to continue to offer the services the way we do and to continue to renew and improve our infrastructure.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Ferguson?
Thank you. No, that's a really great update, the spreadsheet there. Specifically about the water meter, it was about, you're going to give us examples from NTP, other organizations and how they might bill, and it's about, it's a little bit different than what this is. And so, yeah, if you could just, yeah, it's just so maybe we could have a better way of how we're meter deposit and billing and recovering some of those costs and what that looks like.
I will ensure the executive secretary reminds me of this tomorrow in my old age.
Thank you. So that's any question for the capital plan? I got one question. The multi-hog, was there a delivery date when we tendered it or no? Administration?
Yeah, there sure was. We had anticipated earlier in or late spring, and then it was mid-July. And now we've recently been contacted to say that they're, of course, like many manufacturers, delayed in getting equipment and parts, and are now looking at a late September delivery date. Welcome to the world supply chain issues.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Ferguson?
All right, thank you. I just wanted, I'm, reviewing the list of all the capital projects that are on the go, are in process, and it's a good job. Lots of things are getting done. And this really shows it, that things are happening and things are being done. And it's ongoing. Thanks.
Administration?
I would like to thank Councillor Ferguson for those comments, Mr. Chair, because as a relatively new team, with myself as a relatively new SAO, but who has been with the organization for 9 years, and relatively new directors. Mr. Grenier, who does a lot of our capital, supervises a lot of our capital work, is only been a director for just almost a year now, or about a year now, and is having a strong learning curve in which he's learning to write tenders and briefing notes and various other things. But this team has been strongly on these projects. You'll see that some of them are Mr. Grenier's projects, some of them are Mrs. Colucci's projects, some of them are Mr. Kidd's projects. The Director of Protective Services, who's only in the community half the time because of family issues, is managing some of these projects and getting these tenders out. So this team is firing on all cylinders in regards to getting this work out and monitoring to make sure the work is done to a quality level that is befitting of our community.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor McDonald?
Yeah, I wanted to express the same sentiment. I think you guys have done, as we can see here, a great job, and a lot of work is moving. So well done.
Mayor
Yeah.
Daniels?
Yeah, I would just like to give, the thank you to our staff, the SAO directors, of what we accomplished this year. I know it was within 7 months, and I know I pushed hard, and I keep pushing hard. It's, like we got where our contractors is working, and some of them tell us like that's enough work. Well, we're not done yet. Like you guys got to work 7 days a week. Like then we'll fix it. But anyway, I'm thankful that you put up with me. And I wanted to show that we're doing stuff, and I think we did when you look at all these projects. And these are not small projects; these are major projects, that sat there over the last 20 years, and we're fixing them. And once we fix them, that's it. We're caught up, like our sewer. We've done a lot of digs this year, and I've pushed them. Some were supposed to happen last year. Well, no, I pushed it forward. Just one more, and then we're finished. The other lines are going to be new problems, and those had to be fixed. So yes, and I thank you for putting up with me on my pushing thing. I am one who pushes lots. It's production, always production, and sometimes you probably get tired of it, but when you really look at it, and you look at the sheet here with council and that's a lot of work we put out in 7 months. So I'm very proud of this organization. We've all done well. And sure, there's a lot of little stuff that, that comes and slides under the table and yeah, I'm there on the bigger picture. I want to be 5 miles out getting answers before they even come to our table. It's answer them, and then we'll look after the home base later, so anyway, thank you. You all done a great job. The rec crew with Canada Day, that was awesome. I know I got nervous there because my times are mixed up, and I got out of bed and there was nobody around, and like, you guys are boycotting this, like, really? And no town trucks, no firemen at the hall, there's no float. Where are they? Go to the rec, there's nobody there. Like, are you guys seriously? And I'm driving down, and later on, I think it was my secretary that said, no, it's like at 11. Oh, so 9:45, I was riding around looking for all of you. Couldn't find you, but it was a great Canada Day, and we look forward. I know the next one, I'm putting it on the table, is the next one we got to look for is this music fest. I've always started out today planning that out, so I want to do it this year. Whether it's even local people, that's great. That's good enough for this year. But we got to do something. So anyway, with that, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Councillor Bolio?
Yeah, I'd like to say thank you, and I'm very appreciative of this update. And also thank you and my compliments to the town employees on their efficient work they're doing. And it's really good to see our community coming up to date and finally finalizing on all the work we had here to do. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Bolio. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to the director's report. Administration.
Thank you. I'm going to try not to steal Mr. Granier's thunder, so I will let him do his report before I anything he missed. I'll add in. Go to her.
All right, well, I'm gonna join, I guess, everybody else's sentiments here tonight, where I'm gonna open with, we had a couple community celebrations this past month and provided support from all our departments, as you'll hear in my report. I would like to send a big thank you to the staff working hard on their regular duties, as well as stepping up to these additional requests. Having said that, I'll move right into Public Works. So Public Works set up and take down of the stage on Canada Day. We're having less and less people trained on that stage. Mobilization, so that's something we need to look at, but they stepped up and they got it done. The mobilize and demobilize of the barbecue, portable toilets, garbage bins for Indigenous Peoples Day and Canada Day. The sewer flushing is going on with no areas of concern currently, and that's nice to see because of the sewer upgrades we're doing. The crosswalk lines have been painted. They're getting used to the machine, first time using it. But I think it's fantastic that the lines are done. The areas for the new playground equipment were prepped, the equipment installed, and then the areas were completed with the new sand ready to use. The landfill continues to be a challenge with our loader down, but we're working hard at getting it back into operational condition. Moving into waterworks, they turned on and confirmed water services were working for Canada Day celebration. Also turned on and confirmed the water services to Conover Park. We met with the contractors for the Salt River First Nations project to confirm the water valve locations, as well as exercise those valves. Met with them at the Lagoon to discuss the desludging, and we'll be working them further this week with the contractor that comes in on maybe getting desludging for our sections as well. We've been working on pump issues that have arisen at our lift stations as well as our raw water intake, and this is related to the aging infrastructure, but we're currently in the process of upgrading this with our capital plan. So this will all be coming to an end, hopefully. Moving into facility maintenance, the Indigenous people, they mowed, trimmed the area around there, moved picnic tables, and any other various requests, as well as Canada Day preparations, the mowing of the field, the trimming the parade route, and assisting Public Works with moving what they needed. They've also been through training, so they did the pool operations 1 and 2. There was 2 maintainers and 2 supervisors in that course. All of them passed. All of them learned a lot, and they have new scheduling done around the pool maintenance. So there should be a lot more, less pool shutdown, more pool activity. Except for today, they also had a scheduled power outage, which went smoothly. The pool and the hot tub was all shut down for the duration, and they had to repair the pool handler as well, which was a blown fuse, but took a little while to distinguish. They'll now also be turning the elevator off during the scheduled power outages to reduce elevator costs, because the power outages have seemed to be shorting the elevator out there repeatedly. So we found if we shut it off before the scheduled outage, there's savings to be made. The pool also had a heating problem noted during the daily checks. Well, we found out the problem was the PWK boilers not producing the heat. Catching it early enough meant not having to have the pool shut down. So that was a bonus. Thank you. That's my report.
Thank you. Any questions? Administration?
Just so I'm not stealing his thunder, but a couple of things I wanted to touch base on. We recently had ENR come in and do our inspection for our water license. This was the first year that I have been able to participate in that inspection to have a better sense of what they're looking for. So I worked with our supervisor of Waterworks, Jesse Foote, and rode around with him and was able to engage with the 2 ENR staff around kind of the issues that come up, how strong our plant is in dealing with potential issues, especially during the times where we have high turbidity because of the breakup, particularly during breakup, and how quickly our staff manage that. So that was really awesome to see, to have that experience and learn a bit more about that. We also have submitted all of the necessary responses to our request for modification to the sewage lagoon that was required as part of our water license for Salt River First Nation. We actually needed quite a bit of additional information from them. And it was a bit challenging because the way their contract was written is that the contractor didn't have to provide that information until 3 weeks before the work was to begin. But in reality, we needed it significantly earlier. So we did get that. The contractors and the engineers worked with us to get those pieces of information that met the needs. So those have been submitted, and our regional specialist is submitting them to the board. They'll be going to the board meeting on July 21st. So we should hear pretty quickly after that if that's approved. We are working with trying to get NTPC on side with, and this is a bit of a contentious issue, and I wanted to share it with council because I think it's very important. At some point in time, NTPC put a grounding rod through a sewer pipe on Walters Court. The resident affected has had sewer backups in the last couple of years in particular. Just rod goes like really quite right through the thing. So there's been enough buildup over the last couple of years. The residents been having some sewer backup. We, the director has taken the lead on this, but have met with NTPC, have met with staff, have met with higher level staff to let them know that their work has damaged our infrastructure and caused this problem for the resident. We received an email last week or the week before indicating our message to them is that they needed to pay for infrastructure replacement, and that because of the type of pipe, it's the older type of pipe with the asbestos pipe. So once you've cracked it, there's a chance it will spider out and it won't be structurally sound anymore. So we had indicated to them that they wanted to, that a certain section of pipe had to be repaired and to ensure there was not prolonged or ongoing damage to the pipe that could come up later. Their response was that they would pay to move their infrastructure, not charge us for that. And they would pay 25% of our upgrade of the of our infrastructure. So I called them because that was the response they gave the director. So he elevated it to me and I kind of said, you bought it, you broke it, you bought it, right? You need to pay for it. So if we don't have a response before I go on leave at the end of the week, we will be working with the contractor, a local contractor, to do that work, and we'll be sending NTPC an invoice for the full scope of the work because they broke it, they bought it. Does that seem reasonable? Yeah, do your locates before you dig, except they didn't, and they put a hole in our service. So that's a really important one that the director's been spending a great deal of time on. We're trying to make sure that happens in a way that doesn't impact the wedding and the family that's having a big wedding on that street. So we're going to try and do it after the wedding. Because we're going to have a lot of out of community family coming in. So we're trying to work around that. The other one, and I'm sure the director probably would talk about this in the next one, but I should have had it in the capital plan, is we've done a number of AC upgrades in this building. So as part of our upgrades to this building to make it more livable. So that's been happening. And I'm hoping that you see some improvements to our grass cutting. We've gotten some extra boots on the ground. We've had a few staff members who've been on sick leave for a period of time, and we just couldn't wait for them to come back. So we're picking up some extra boots on the ground to make sure that the facility maintenance and the public works staff have who they need to complete the work that needs to be done. So there may be some overages based on those sick leaves, but there's not really a whole lot we can do about that if we want the work to get done. So that's happening now.
Councillor Ferguson?
Thank you. How likely is it that NTPC will pay if they've already said no, and then you send them an invoice? Are we actually going to receive funds from them?
Administration?
Well, this is where that great conversation we had last week about collections. We will be sending them invoices, and if they haven't paid within the allotted period of time, we will be sending collections, because this is going to be a significant amount of money. And the town of Fort Smith cannot be held like this. Is going to be not the amount of money we're talking about on the Calder dig, but probably that first amount that we talked about, around $75,000 more. Yeah. So it's going to be a significant dig, and we cannot be held responsible for poor work and the responsibility of another organization, a government organization with more money than us.
Councillor Ferguson?
Just make sure you check with legal. I'm sure you will, right? Because there's not a meeting of the minds. There's not really a contractual basis for that, right? So make sure that that's the right process. Yeah.
And how far we go back and everything, because they're going to question us on the spidering and that, how far do we dig and how deep and everything. Any, Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one quick question around the water license modification. So is there any consultation required under that, or is it because it's a modification, it's falls under a different process?
Administration?
Yeah, there's no consultation required because it's already a standing license, and we're not changing the size of the lagoon. We're just changing the pipes that are going in. So there should be no land use change.
Mayor, Councillor Ferguson?
Thank you. I just have two questions. I just wanted to bring up the leaks at the curling rink. Has those been resolved, like that repair work, that so we won't have that leaking that would happen in the electrical room? And two, how do we heat the pool if we're not using the boilers? What do we go on?
Administration?
So we're just going to be so many things. We're going to be going in to try and we have an idea that we think will help with those leaks before we spend a lot of money digging up the floor of the curling rink. So the facility maintainers will be going in to try and put that into play before the ice goes in. And I'll just give you a arena update too. Sorry, let me write myself a note on that. So we have an idea. They have problem solved it. They've got an idea. They're going to be going in, I think, this coming month, so that we can test it out to put that system into place. The other question. Oh, so the pool at the rec center is technically heated by the pellet boiler at the high school. So we don't heat the pool if the pellet boiler at the high school is not producing heat. So we don't. It's just not heated, which is problematic because you can't be in a pool that's not heated.
It's just catching it in time, gets us time to get a hold of them to find out what's going on with their boiler. So when they catch it in time, right? It's just identifying it early helps us get that boiler fired back up. So whatever they're going with, and then we avoid the pool shutdown.
Administration?
It's a little bit like every year they forget that they heat our pool. And often at the end of the school year, and when it gets warm, they turn the boiler down because it impacts their heat. But if they turn it down too far, then the pool is not sufficiently heated. And then we probably have this problem with their boiler a couple times a year where the boiler shuts down and it impacts the pool.
Councillor Ferguson?
I just have a follow-up question about the boilers. I don't know if this is where it needs to be said, is we were going to look at that invoice that we received that we didn't get clarification of, that $198,000 boiler fee for when they in April, heating fee invoice from the high school.
So that's, it actually probably was from Public Works. Yeah, apparently that's how much it costs to heat the rec center.
I know, but we had no record from them. They just kind of gave us a thing, but there was no like how they came to that. I was just wondering if that ever happened.
No. So what they're saying is that for a long time they were under charging us, which made it look like and then all of a sudden the rates, the fee went up significantly, and then it went up again this year. So they're not providing us with a lot of information about what rate they're charging us at. Perhaps the territorial government notices that you guys charge them more for things and aren't paying us back. I don't know. So yeah, we can continue to try and chase that down, but getting that response from them has been challenging. I know Brian hasn't had good contact with them.
Can I ask a question? Here? Do they have a BTU meter or anything on that line to tell us what they're selling us?
I don't think they do.
Oh, I know the answer,
Yeah, I don't believe they do.
but that's one we should be questioning them on. And how are they coming up with this amount of money? Because they can't just go on fuel consumption, electrical or something, anything. We got to get down to find out how they come up with this amount. Thank you. Mayor Daniels?
Yeah, just on that topic there, took a look at it for a little while, and I think we should do our own study on maybe biomass. What does that picture look like? Because I don't really want to be tied in there too much. If something goes wrong, then our place is going to freeze up, right? So I don't know. That's just what I'm thinking. Is maybe let's take a look at our own system, whatever that is. We can't do electric because they're like 30, 40 years, 60 years behind. They need to change the whole wiring in town, right? So that's a false there. So you only got biomass, and what else would you use? Solar power, but solar's not good enough here. So I don't know. I think maybe it's worth some discussion on going on our own. That's one of them. The other one too is this generator for the rec. Now, every time the power goes out, we got a problem with flooding, right? So where's that stand at? I know we put it out for competition, I think, 3 weeks ago or something, or before just handing it out or whatever. Like, where are we with that? If we have the money, I wouldn't mind putting it in like before fall. I know I'm pushing the gun again, but
Administration?
Yeah, so I had talked to some funders about if we could get funding to put in an independent heating system for the rec center. What was the original plan? And some of you have been around here long enough. You may remember or be able to clarify some of the information. The original plan was when the pool was built on, that the heat would be supplied by the territorial government through the high school, and that in exchange for that, we would provide services to the high school for free. That no longer happens. Right now, we're paying for heat, and we still have a user agreement with the high school, with the school board, for free use of our facilities. That particular document needs to be updated. And I think that's something we should be looking at in the fall, about whether or not council wants to continue in that fashion, or again, like the mayor has said, removing ourselves from that system and putting in our own system, and then negotiating something different with the high school. I think it's important the high school have access to our facilities, but the original intent was that they wouldn't pay for facility usage and we wouldn't pay for heat.
Mayor Daniels?
yeah, may I suggest something then? If we're looking at the fall, let's get a letter out to Yellowknife and legislator, whoever is looking after that, and let's bring them to the table in the fall time. I'm pushy, I know.
Councillor Ferguson?
Thank you. I just want to give a perspective here. So we might be getting subsidized costs, because for my building, it's $120,000 to heat my building, and I'm not the size of the rec center. So you might be experiencing some sort of cost or reduction of cost or fee from them. That's why I wanted to see the invoice to see how those numbers were coming up.
And I'll throw something. And if we do go put our own independent heating system in, we're going to have to hire an engineer, more maintenance staff and everything. It's going to be phenomenal costs. Thanks. Oh, administration.
Yeah, it's definitely a big project, and it changes the whole thing. But again, if they don't have metering on that line, it's hard for us to ensure that we're paying the correct amount, right? So we will continue to follow this up. We will 100%. I'll put Mr. Kidd on that to follow that up with Public Works. The other question that the mayor had was in regards to the generator. I brought that to you last week. And it will be, it's not choking, is he? He's okay. It actually went out for the RFP for the design and went out on Friday with a 2-week closing. So it closes on July 25th, I believe. And that will be for design as well as preparing tender-ready documents. And they will also provide support during the construction and installation phase and final inspection as part of that tender or RFP, sorry.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, I got one question about the curling rink. So we're gonna repair the cracks and everything before we put the ice in. Are we gonna fill it with water and see if it leaks? Administration.
Yeah, we're gonna try and do what we did last season when we caulked the whole rink, is to try and see if there was any places that are still leaking. So we want to try and do a couple problem solving things before we spend a gross amount of money breaking up concrete and then putting concrete back in. But yeah, there'll be a water test of some sort. May I add one more thing I wanted to update you on?
Okay,
The arena still has no, sorry, the last email we got from the contractor is that July 19th, parts will be shipped. However, some of the parts are still on back order for the fire suppression system. So we still have no fire suppression system in the arena and no firm date as to when that will be repaired because the parts are on back order.
is this a new system since the fire and everything? Has this system all been upgraded? What, we're waiting for a certain part from the Viking or whatever manufacturer it is in. So then we can't switch. So we're stuck with.
That's not what you want to say.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Councillor Pissinger?
Yes, while we're on the arena, was there not supposed to be a tender put out for change the heating system for the arena? Where is that at?
Administration.
Yeah, that tender hasn't gone out. That project hasn't moved forward. My understanding is that's not necessarily one we need to do during the summer construction season, so it can go out later in the season. There are certain things that have to happen during the summer construction season and some things that we can work into later because those, and what we're going to try and look at is whether or not, I mean, you know, depending if we have the infrastructure, we're going to see if we can, instead of putting in fuel-based heaters, if we can use electric heaters instead. So when that tender goes out, we will be looking to see some ideas around electric heaters.
Councillor Pissinger?
I thought we already had the heaters and it was just for installation.
Administration.
No, we don't have the heaters. They were not recovered properly from the construction. The other issue is we can't actually have anybody in there doing any kind of work until the fire suppression system's been repaired anyways. So until that happens, there's no work to be done inside the arena.
Thank you. My question is, if we're going to go with electric heaters, we're going what Power Corp can't supply us power. So we'll get to go back to some fuel-based heaters. Thanks.
Yeah,
Sorry.
our goal, our dream was electric heaters, so we wouldn't have to go to fuel-based, but that may not be an option. I think we need to confirm with Power Corp whether or not that's even something they can handle, or if we do have to go to fuel-based.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, will Director, that was very good. Oh, I got one more question. The landfill road, are we going to be doing some maintenance on that or grading it or putting some layer of gravel or pit run on it? Administration.
Thank you. I'm actually just waiting for some landfill designs from the engineer who was working on the project prior to us receiving ICIP funding. at which time the project was not financially viable. But now that it is financially viable, he's back to working on that project, and he's going to be doing some designs on that road. So we're going to hopefully before the end of the season be able to actually do the ditching and proper grading of that road.
Thank you for that update, but can we get a grader on there then, so we see it? Thanks. Any other question? Moving on then, we'll go into the Protective Services Report. Administration?
Thank you. I just have to wake my computer back up. So you can see in the Protective Services Report, the meeting and training list. We've had some EMR training. We have been working on checking trucks, working on pump operations, water supply, hose work. So some general good training. The Emerson report is a little smaller than it has been in the past. However, there are not many days in there where they're not getting called out. Sorry, I'm just looking. The last month numbers aren't in here, unfortunately, so I can't compare June to the previous month on this report. The director is actually on annual leave, but he submitted this report while he was away, so I appreciate that. So I can't compare how different the numbers are between May and June, but again, 21 calls in June, so that's a fairly high number of calls. And we're at 158 calls to date. So we're halfway through the year, and we're almost, basically almost a call a day. We did have a grass fire on Marine Drive, which was dealt with by the fire department quite promptly. You can see that on his lovely graphs. And then in 2022, we've been fairly high for ambulance calls, but over the last couple of months, things have come down a bit, which is good. However, again, when I'm reviewing the variance report, I can see that we've already recovered more than was budgeted for this year to date on a cost recovery for ambulance services. EMS calls, fire and EMS calls. Again, he's got a nice graph there for you showing how many call outs in 2022 and 2021 and some averages for you there. So again, this is a combination of fire and EMS, and you can see those numbers are just continue to go up. Busy people, thank you to those volunteers. They work tirelessly. There was a call out just the other day I believe it was across the road from the health center, and a very quick response by our volunteer fire department. I think I would love to say probably one of the quickest responses in the country, but I don't have stats on that, but I just think they're that good.
Thank you. Any questions on the Protective Services Report? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Advisory Board, Sustainable Development Advisory Board. There was no meeting, so we'll move right into administration. Control panel. Administration, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we do have briefing notes for you today. Again, as we're putting out more and more tenders to get work done, one of the primary projects that we've been working on this summer throughout the community is our water and sewer system, not just our underground infrastructure, but our above ground infrastructure. So when you see the capital plan, we've had evaluations of some of our infrastructure buildings. We also have been trying to update lift station operational systems as needed. We were hoping This particular lift station would not need to be upgraded for another year or two, but we're coming to a point of failure, which will negatively impact our system, our whole wastewater system. This is the original control panel at the Primrose lift station. It was installed in the 1970s. Is no longer functioning properly. It is outdated and not compatible with modern systems, and we can no longer source for parts for repair. This can put us in a situation where our services can no longer be provided to this area. A tender, the director put it out a tender for this work. 3 companies drew tenders, one of which was a local contractor. One bid was received from a non-local contractor. The bid was received from Aurora Technical Services at a cost of $143,750. I previously brought this work to you based on the quote that we had from the manufacturer, and it was significantly less. However, what we asked for in the tender was purchase or supply and installation of the equipment. The original amount that Xylem provided us was not for installation. So this tender did request installation as well. The funds for the supply and install of the control panel will come from the utility replacement reserve, which is approximately $2.3 million. And these funds are part of the allocation to upgrade of all of our infrastructure and modernize our operating systems. So you can see there's a recommendation to council there.
Thank you. Any, Councillor Ferguson?
Thank you. So we hadn't anticipated, oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll recommend that the tender for the supply and install of the control panel at Primrose Lift Station be awarded to Aurora Technical Services in the amount of $143,750.
I'll
Seconder?
second.
Okay, second. Any questions? Councillor Ferguson?
Yes, thank you. So we hadn't anticipated this work for a couple of years. And so do we have the budgeted funds to pay for this?
Administration?
Yes, absolutely. We have the budgeted funds to pay for this. We have $2.3 million that is in the utility replacement reserve, which is contributed to annually by bylaw of $100,000. And this is part of the reason why having a good sense of what we pay for, what the cost of water and sewer services is, because we need to keep this money in reserve so we can do this kind of work. So in your 10-year capital plan, your larger capital plan, your 5-year capital plan, this work was allocated to be done in a couple of years. So it is allocated. It's there. It's just we need to bring it forward.
Thank you. Mayor Daniels?
Yeah, just wondering about the time frame. What are we looking at here?
Administration?
We have not confirmed that because we haven't technically been able to award the tender. So until we award the tender, we can't confirm what the time frame is. But I would suggest it's probably 12 to 16 weeks.
But it will be installed by this winter, fall.
I mean,
Administration?
ideally, and I believe this work can be done after, like, this isn't a worry about the ground freezing kind of work. And the director can correct me. This can be done in the winter if necessary.
Yeah, this can be done any time of year. This is the panel above ground that controls all the infrastructure.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Pister?
Yes, you had mentioned there was a local contractor here that put in a bid, one of which were local contract. We always talk about going local and local businesses. Is there like a percentage that the local contractor can receive over an out-of-town contractor?
Administration?
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I just want to clarify. A local contractor drew the documents. They did not submit a bid. But you're correct. Up to $100,000 that our current bylaw purchasing bylaw is up to $100,000. There's a 10% window for local contractors, local service providers. So we are always aware of that when we're working with bids under $100,000.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, Mayor Daniels?
Yeah, just for bylaw reasons. So after 100,000, what, is there anything else or just stops right there? Like say if it's like this number 243 or 143.
Administration?
Sorry, yeah, it does stop at $100,000. And the reason for that is we have to have a cap. Otherwise, you could be in a situation where a local contractor would say, I'm bidding on a $5 million project. I want to be able to top up. I want to be able to top up 10%. That's a $500,000 extra that perhaps, part of the competitive process of having the best bid, you don't want to be paying an extra $500,000 if you don't have to.
Thank you.
No, I understand.
Seeing no further questions, all in favor?
Yes.
Okay, passed. Okay, next one, demolition of administration.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is work that we are requesting be done as part of the upgrades to facilities, both our water and sewer facilities, as well as our municipal services facilities. We are, oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong briefing note. The next one's going to be that. Sorry, this is the demolition of the old water treatment building and the metal storage shed. These were not anticipated projects, but we got unsightly notices for them, and they are certainly unsightly eyesores. And we have young people that, or I shouldn't say, I'm not sure it's young people. We have people who are constantly using them as places to put their graffiti and are entering into them despite the fact that they're completely unsafe. So we did put out a tender for demolition of these two buildings. They hold no purpose for us other than they're storing old files and Christmas decorations and some water treatment supplies. The staff, we're not sure they're safe, and the staff probably shouldn't be entering into them anyway. So we want these buildings to be gone. Again, a tender was issued for demolition. 5 potential proponents drew the documents. 3 responses were received, 2 from local companies. The lowest received bid was from Rain Trucking Limited of Hay River in the amount of $81,795. The 2 local bids were both well over $100,000 and significantly more than this low bid. Funds for the removal of these buildings was not identified in the current capital plan. However, there are funds available through our Canada Community Building Fund, which is the gas tax fund. So we do have the available funds to cover this work, and recommendation attached.
Thank you. Can we have a mover on this? Councilor Ferguson.
I'll recommend that the tender for the demolition of the old water treatment building and metal storage shed be awarded to Rain Trucking Limited in the amount of $81,795, that the funds for the project be allocated from the Canada Community Building Fund.
I'll second that.
Questions? Councilor Ferguson? Oh, sorry. Sorry, Diane?
Were these buildings subject to getting an unsightly report?
Administration?
Yes, yes, I was served with an unsightly notice for these buildings.
Any, Councilor Ferguson?
Thank you. So we're using our community building fund for allocation for these funds. I know we've tapped into that a couple times. Do we still have significant amount of funds in that for future?
Administration?
Yes, we do, and this is a fund that gets replenished every year by the federal government. We get a $960,000 contribution to this fund every year, so it's a growing fund. But yeah, we have significant amounts. We have several $1 million available.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councilor Ferguson?
it's not going to affect any future things that we're buying for this year. Like we're going to have enough to, I just know we've used this for several other things that we've done this year.
Administration.
Yeah,
sorry.
so we don't necessarily expend this full fund every year, so we have, it carries over. So we have unexpended from set like for years, right? So we have a base amount that sits in our account on this for us to use for projects like this.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing no more questions, all in favor?
Yes.
Pass on unanimously. Moving on to the, which one do you want, sidewalks or the building? Build 2 new storage buildings.
Thank you. I think this goes back to discussions with council during our tour, our facilities tour, where we talked about the need for additional storage. We talked about the need for additional storage in the public works yard to clean up some of the equipment that's outside that really should be covered, as well as the need for, as we do the demo of these buildings. Right now, those 2 buildings that are the old water treatment shed currently holds our Christmas decorations, so the large decorations that go on the poles out down near the downtown area, as well as equipment used by our water and sewer team. So what we're requesting is 2 cold storage buildings, one that will be located at the water tower yard. That will be where the extra pumps and other equipment that they're using, replacement pieces, will be stored. And one will be in the public works yard, which will be where these Christmas decorations go, signs, barricades, so items that are currently held in the yard. Ideally, what this will allow us to do is organize things, make the public works yard more presentable, because the bylaw officer has threatened to make it an unsightly property, as well as improve safety in the yard. A tender was issued for these 2 buildings. 5 tenders were pulled, 3 of which were local contractors. 2 bids were received, one from a non-local contractor and one from a local contractor. The lowest bid was received from Blades Contracting or Construction at $95,000 for both buildings total. Funding for the 2 new buildings would be identified as part of our infrastructure improvement project for both water treatment and public works. So these funds are already there as part of our infrastructure upgrades. And will come, oh, sorry, that's an edit problem on my part. That last little bit there should have come out. These will be unheated cold storage buildings, so will require minimal additional O&M annually. And again, there's a recommendation of that.
I recommend that the tender for the construction of the 2 cold storage buildings be awarded to Blade Construction in the amount of $95,000.
I'll second that.
Any questions? Mayor Daniels?
What actual size are these buildings?
Mr. Director.
20 feet by 40 feet. They'll have a 10-foot bay door as well as a man door next to it, so a bobcat can move heavy items in and out.
Concrete floor?
Just concrete footing. We don't need concrete floors. That's cost savings there.
Any other questions? Councilor Pissinger?
Did I hear, so concrete floor or no? Okay. Just initial, we pay for storage for the ambulance. Is there plans to put the ambulance somewhere else down the road, or is that where it's going to stay? Or is that going to be a few years? Or can we add to the building because we pay a significant amount each month for rent?
Administration?
Well, I mean, the plan is to hopefully someday update our fire station to have enough bays to hold both of our ambulances as well, because we store one of them at the hospital and the hospital doesn't want it stored there. And yes, we do pay a significant amount of rent for that building. I hadn't thought of that. I will discuss that with the director, and we may huge, yeah, I mean, we're gonna talk, yeah, we'd have to heat the building for winter use to keep the ambulance ready to go. It's
Just a
heated.
second. Pis-
The
Councillor
one you
Pis-
have now for your paying rent is not heated.
No, it is heated.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mayor Daniels?
Time frame.
I believe that the director had originally talked to some local contractors about this project, and we were confirmed it would happen before end of summer. And we have to have it done before we can do the demo of those other two buildings. So that contractor is aware that these have to be done before we can demo those other buildings.
So if the rafters or the structural stuff are 16 weeks delayed, we don't do the demo or anything until then. Okay. Thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to the install downtown sidewalks. Thank you. Administration.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So again, a tender was put out to do some work on the sidewalks. Sidewalk repairs and improvements are identified in your 2022 capital plan. And at this time, the intent is to focus on the downtown sidewalks, where you will notice there are pieces, sections missing due to infrastructure digs, particularly around the northern and down towards Marine Drive. We also have some sections of broken sidewalks. So the intent of this is you had $150,000 allocated for sidewalk work within that capital plan. We are working the downtown area, the plan to work out as the money allows, but for the identified sections that the director put into the tender, we're looking at $69,999. Should have just put 99 cents for fun. To get that work done. Part of that budget, $150,000, will likely also need to be used for repairs of the sidewalks on the digs that happened this season. So if there's any additional funds, then we may pick up some additional sections that need to be repaired or replaced or done, period, because we have some other places that haven't been done at all. But we'll see where that budget gets us. But for the initial part of the tender that the director identified for the downtown core, we're looking at $69,999, which was tendered by Blades Construction. There was a second tender received, but it was from an outside, a contractor from outside the community, was significantly higher than this tender. So we do have sidewalk work identified in the capital plan repeatedly throughout the capital plan. So ongoing sidewalk repair and replacement will continue to happen in the city, in the community. Sidewalks are vitally important for connectivity in a community, for safe transportation, active transportation. For seniors, it needs to be accessible. For people who are underhoused, it is their, or don't have transportation, this is their main source of transportation, is safe sidewalks. So having broken, uneven sidewalks in disrepair, it could be a significant safety issue for portions of our population. So we're really keen to get this work done. There is a recommendation attached.
Thank you. A motion to go. Councillor Pistioner?
Isn't the motion on the floor? I move that the tender to install downtown sidewalks be awarded to Blades Constructions in the amount of $69,999.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Pistioner?
Yes, you were, SAO, you just mentioned that some other areas need sidewalks too. I was just thinking the area on Calder between Raven and the college, that's areas heavily used through students for the high school and the college. And that was just dug up this summer, I think it's quite a significant amount of sidewalk that needs to be put back.
Administration?
Yeah, actually, that is correct. Actually, that chunk of sidewalk's been missing for quite some time. It was previously tendered out and not completed several years ago. So it is on our radar to get done this summer as we're moving through the digs. So that one and any of the sidewalk breaks that's going to happen on Portage will be identified to get done this summer as well.
Any other questions? I got a question. Well, if those are on our radar, why aren't we putting them all out in this tender instead of getting all these little extra ones coming up after and a little bit extra? We got 150,000. We could just add it to this tender. We should have had it all done as one package, not just 20,000 here, 30,000 here, whatever they decide at the moment. It's a competitive world. We got to be getting the best price for it. Thank you. Administration.
Yeah, I think this tender went out before they were finished on Calder, so we didn't know the extent of the sidewalk work that was going to be done there. As well, part of it is prioritizing what can get done in the season. So we want to make sure that these downtown ones that have been gone for a while as well are dealt with, because downtown traffic impacts, again, our community members as well as our visitors. And then there is funding in the capital plan for ongoing sidewalk repair and replacement in your capital plan every year, I believe. So anything that's not done this year will continue to move outward to make sure that all those places get done.
Oh, okay. I understand like Calder where they just dug up everything, but the one between Calder and the college, that's been existing for a while. All the other ones that's been existing, and we're just sort of giving an open checkbook, say, go spend the rest of this money here now. We got it. And it's not the way we should be doing business. We should identify, it's not a hidden thing like the underground one was. This one, we're going to be coming back and be $150,000 at the end of the year. We have to put it in writing and everything at the start. Like here, we got $69,000, and if there's another $10,000 to fix Calder, that was okay. When the tender was out, we had that. But all the other existing ones that were out there, we should put that into another tender and get fixed in. Thank you. Administration.
Yeah, we can certainly put it under the tender. The part of the point of a tender is we don't know what the costs are going to be. So when we put out what we prioritize, we don't know if that's going to take up your entire budget or not, right? So if, quite honestly, the other contractor who bidded was well over your $150,000 budget for just the parts that we identified. So if that was the only contract, if that was the only bid we received, we wouldn't be doing all of the work. So yes, I 100% agree. We should probably put out another tender for the work. But at the same time, when we're receiving tenders, we don't necessarily know what the tender is going to come in at. So if it comes in at $149,000.99, then you don't have any more money to allocate to those additional sites that we know are going to need to be replaced. But now that we know what this is and we know that we have money left in the budget, we can certainly, I would wait until we're done Portage and identify where those breaks are going to be and how big those breaks are going to be before we go back out to tender. But certainly we can definitely go back out to tender now that we know we have additional funds. Because we actually thought we were going to be a lot closer to 150. I shouldn't tell that. I shouldn't say that. I don't want the contractor to know that. He watches these meetings.
And another, just thinking, sorry, did he give us a cost per foot of sidewalk or anything? Well, that's what I think. If he would have threw it in there, it would have been good now, but if not there, we've got to get the best bang for our buck, I think. Thanks. Mayor Daniels?
No, that's a good item. And that's an item that I'd like to deal with probably in this fall time, is thinking for next year is what we should do is come out with a standing offer on everything, your plumbing, your electrical, your gravel, everything you got that the town buys. Is let's do a standing offer. I don't know if we ever done that in our time period or not, but yes, I don't, we don't mind giving out work, but I mean, there's a lot of work that we have to do too. And sometimes we have to squeeze money. We're not all that rich, even though some people would think so. So I'm all in favor is looking at a standing offer agreement with everything that we ever put out. I mean, that's a good way to market stuff.
Oh, I agree with you, standing offer on something that happens day to day, but not like on projects like sidewalks and the buildings and that. We can't put a standing offer. We still need our best tender and everything else. That's all. Thanks.
Yes, but you do want to get the number of your cement, what you're buying or whatever it is, right?
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, passed. Thank you. And then we got the one from Mayor Daniels. Oh, we're gonna go count.
Yes, at this time, I'd like to go on camera on these two items.
Section 23E, I believe, of the CTV Act. So that would be the motion, go in camera as per section 23E of the CTV Act.
Okay, would like to go on camera for section 23E of the Community
Cities, towns, and villages.
Cities, Towns and Villages Act.
I'll second that.
Well, I can make that motion.
Sorry, then I will make the motion that we go in camera for section 23E for the Cities, Town and Villages Act.
I'll second.
Okay, all good.
Discussion.
Discussion? All in favor? Okay, we're going camera.
Okay.